Let's be totally honest for a second here. We've all seen those cinematic blockbusters, right? The thrilling treasure hunts, the mysterious hooded figures meeting in smoky back rooms. But here's the crazy thing. Conspiracy theorists hit the nail on the head about one very fundamental point. Secret societies absolutely 100% exist. And honestly, their reach can be incredibly intimidating. For all you know, your quiet, unassuming neighbor across the street might actually be in one. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to unpack the factual and often completely startling realities behind the world's most mysterious organizations. Which leads us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Are the world's most powerful political leaders actually pulling the strings from the shadows? Today, we're going to impartially trace the true origins and the undeniable political dominance of 5 legendary groups. Now look, we're not here to take sides on the wild theories, and we're definitely not endorsing any political viewpoints. Instead, we're looking directly at the facts, the history, and the staggering influence these societies have built all across the globe.
Number 5, the Freemasons, builders of the Republic.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To understand a group with such a massive, undeniable cultural footprint, we're talking about the world's oldest and largest fraternity here. We have to separate their factual origins from the cinematic myths. They actually began in medieval Europe as a literal guild for stonemasons. You know, the people who designed the buildings and cut the stone? Over time, they grew really powerful and adopted symbols from the Knights Templar. Fast forward to today, well, the myths about them are just wild. They're accused of everything from hiding massive treasures in U.S. monuments to faking the moon landing and even masterminding the murder of Abraham Lincoln. While none of that is proven, obviously, it really shows just how much space they occupy in our public imagination. So, what do they actually do behind those closed doors? Well, members claim they just gather to promote community service along with intellectual and cultural activities. Interestingly enough, they're actually strictly forbidden from discussing politics or religion during their meetings. But history tells a slightly more rebellious story. In the past, they aimed to spread education to the public, which meant going directly head-to-head with the Catholic Church. In fact, Pope Clement went so far as to completely excommunicate members, literally declaring them a cult. Today, they still use ancient symbols, like the square and compasses, the letter G representing God or geometry, and the all-seeing eye, which, believe it or not, actually traces its roots way back to ancient Egyptian and Hebrew cultures. But their actual political dominance becomes completely undeniable when you look at their legacy. You have founding fathers who literally shaped the American Revolution. You've got global political titans like Winston Churchill, and cultural icons like Mozart, Mark Twain, and even Houdini. And then there are the U.S. presidents. Andrew Jackson was such a proud Mason that when the Anti-Masonic Party formed, which was actually the first third party in the U.S., created purely out of fear that the Masons were taking over, Jackson defeated them handily in the 1828 election. Fascinatingly, Jackson is the very president who is currently being replaced by Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill.
Number 4. The Order of Skull and Bones, the Yale Power Brokers.
All right, let's move over to the Collegiate Pipeline of Power. Now, this is a group accused of acting as a literal branch of the Illuminati and even controlling the CIA, accusations the CIA, of course, entirely denies. Founded in 1832 at Yale University, it is the oldest student secret society in the United States. Their recruitment relies on this spring trim ritual known as Tap Day, where members literally walk up and tap new recruits on the shoulder to invite them in. And their meetings? They happen inside a windowless building notoriously called the Tomb. Rumor has it, they spend their spare time engaging in some rather dark activities, like allegedly stealing the skull of Apache warrior Geronimo just to hide it inside. Whenever they're questioned about it, Yale University is remarkably quick to reply that the tomb is not on university property, keeping the whole society entirely at arm's length.
What's really fascinating here is the clear map of political dominance. You start to see this recurring pattern of powerful fathers and sons. For example, Alphonso Taft co-founded the group, and his son, William Howard Taft, famously the fattest president of the U.S., by the way, became a member. You see the exact same legacy with the Bush family. So this isn't just some college club. It is an incredible concentration of executive branch power, all cultivated from a single Ivy League campus.
And honestly, they are shockingly brazen about their secrecy. Think about the 2004 U.S. presidential election. Both the Republican and Democratic nominees were bonesmen. No way, right? George W. Bush openly wrote in his autobiography, quote, "In my senior year, I joined Skull and Bones, a secret society. So secret, I can't say anything more." And when his opponent, John Kerry, was asked what it meant that both candidates were members, his response was simply, "Not much, because it's a secret."
Number 3. The Rosicrucian Order, Mystics in the Shadows.
From the polished halls of Ivy League politics, we're going to pivot to something much, much more esoteric. Often cited as the sworn enemies of the Illuminati, this society plunges deep into the occult, blending ancient Egyptian and Hebrew wisdom into a highly secretive brotherhood. Tracing the Rosicrucian origins means navigating a total maze of mysticism. The legend goes that it begins in the 1400s with a German doctor and mystic named Christian Rosenkreuz. He studied medicine and alchemy with the Moors in the Middle East. Returning to Europe, he realized society, and especially the Catholic Church, would likely kill him for this advanced knowledge. So he formed a secret fellowship with 8 bachelor doctors. They swore a strict oath to heal the sick for free and to keep their knowledge completely hidden. And guys, they were so successful at remaining hidden that it wasn't until the 1600s that anonymous manifestos were finally published to let the world know they even existed.
And when those manifestos dropped, the intellectual heavyweights of history supposedly came knocking. The alleged membership roster is an absolute who's who of global thought and power. We're talking René Descartes, Isaac Newton, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Walt Disney, and Napoleon Bonaparte. There are even these incredible theories claiming that scientist Sir Francis Bacon was not only a core member who wrote the group's manifestos, but that he also secretly wrote the works of William Shakespeare. Furthermore, theories suggest it was the Rosicrucians who originally started the widespread conspiracy theories against the Illuminati by spying on them and accusing them of crimes.
Number 2, the Bilderberg Group, the global elite room.
That brings us perfectly into the modern era, to a group that is highly visible yet entirely off the record. This isn't a traditional club with ancient, dusty robes. It is a gathering of the ultimate contemporary power brokers. Once again, we've got to look at the facts versus the theories here. Factual history shows the first meeting took place in 1954 at the Hotel Bilderberg in the Netherlands. It was organized by European politicians, the CIA, and U.S. presidential advisors simply to improve relations between Western Europe and the U.S. It was deemed a huge success and quickly became an annual event. But as you can guess, the intense secrecy surrounding these meetings has birthed massive conspiracy theories. People accuse them of everything from plotting future assassinations to imposing global capitalist domination and establishing a single world government.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how these meetings actually operate today. Imagine a room where top officials from the World Bank and massive tech billionaires can sit down and discuss global trends without any media spin whatsoever. Around 120 highly influential guests are invited annually. The entire event is locked down with military-grade security. Traditionally, they bring in 2 guests per nation, 1 liberal and 1 conservative, to ensure balanced viewpoints. The press? Strictly prohibited from entering, and attendees are bound by a rigid oath of secrecy. Guests, which have included huge names like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates, praise the event precisely because it allows them to speak honestly, totally away from public scrutiny.
But, of course, that raises a very suspenseful, lingering question that absolutely fuels the theorists. If attendance is strictly by invitation only, well, invitation by whom? Who actually holds the ultimate guest list to the most exclusive, high-powered room on Earth?
Number 1, the Order of the Illuminati, the ultimate world order.
All right, this brings us to the ultimate society, one deeply burned into our cultural consciousness. If you listen to the internet, they are the literal architects of the French Revolution, the spreaders of global diseases, and the masterminds behind the deaths of JFK, John Lennon, and Prince. But let's look at where they actually began. Founded in 1776 in Bavaria as a secret society focused on enlightenment, their initial goal was bringing about positive spiritual and political change. Comprised of progressive politicians and intellectuals, they actively opposed religious oppression and political abuse. However, they became too powerful, way too fast. The Pope ordered them to disband, and the Bavarian government made joining the order a criminal offense. They supposedly vanished completely, yet modern theorists insist they never left, surviving in the shadows to mastermind the New World Order. And the sheer scale of alleged modern involvement is staggering, and honestly highly eclectic. Theorists claim the membership includes financial titans like Warren Buffett, countless U.S. presidents, and even pop stars like Madonna and Katy Perry. But the core of the Illuminati theory rests on this one massive belief that 13 dominant American families, including the Washingtons, the Solomons, and the Jeffersons, control all global politics and wealth from the shadows, just passing their immense power down generation after generation. And this brilliantly illustrates where these theories cross right over into the physical objects we interact with every single day. The number 13. To theorists, it's not just the number of original U.S. colonies. Oh no. They view it as a repeating, allegedly demonic number that the Illuminati successfully encoded directly onto the Great Seal of the United States dollar bill. Seriously, next time you have a dollar bill, look closely at it.
The omnipresence of this number is impossible to ignore. There are 13 stars in the constellation over the eagle's head, actually formed in the shape of a hexagram. There are 13 stripes in the shield, 13 arrows held in the eagle's left talon, exactly 13 letters in the phrase e pluribus unum, and exactly 13 layers of stone building up the unfinished pyramid.
Now take a look at the base of that unfinished pyramid. You will find Roman numerals spelling out the year 1776. Historically, we all associate this with the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but to conspiracy theorists, it is a glaring, permanent monument to the exact founding year of the Bavarian Illuminati. And sitting just beneath the notorious Eye of Providence, the one watching over everything, is a Latin phrase, Novus Ordo Seclorum. Translated, it literally means New Order of the Ages. For those tracing the political dominance of these secret groups, this right here is the ultimate proof. They believe the narrative of a new world order isn't just a fun theory. It is a literal mission statement printed on the very currency that drives global capitalism. Which leaves us with one incredibly provocative final thought. If the Order of the Illuminati was completely disbanded and outlawed by the government centuries ago, why are so many people completely convinced their symbols are still sitting right there, folded up in your pocket? Keep learning, keep questioning, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.